Hi. Welcome to the show. It's Tuesday.
I kind of like Sissy, Sissy.
Yeah.
Like stays in system.
Yeah, sissy. So we're working a problem here, guys. The problem is I've got Spacer is the name in Bellatrix Rising. The term spacer means someone who travels from planet to planet. Because in this world there's no one who's not in space some of the time. It's kind of like people who drive here. It's like there's no one who doesn't get in a car. And if there are people who do not ever get in a car on the planet, but I would hazard a guess that in the modern world it is a very insignificant number. So what are the differences between I love you?
Hello, quacks. I don't think there are any quacks.
No, I don't
There's
even
no
think
quacks.
we've got one viewer, so I don't think
Is that you?
No.
Oh.
I don't watch myself, generally speaking. I just get kind of weirded out by that weird old guy.
I do too.
Yeah. Strange. Anyway, I'm trying to think out this problem here. I'm kind of thinking it out. You know what? I'm going to call him that. I'm just going to go on ahead and call him that. He's a sissy. I think we like Sissy. Sissy's funny. I think that's what we're after. I'm not sure. Yeah. And pop should be better than this. Okay. We have nothing to do but to drag along. So we got draggy. Let's get ourselves draggy. And this is the capability of being cute. So I'm going to go on ahead and do that. The original drawing, she's kind of like, she's got kind of a cute face going for her. So we're going to continue on with that plan. I don't need to worry about drawing Navin because he's already here. We just need to make sure that we have her. Really? Make sure we have her fingers in here. It doesn't really matter because she's holding on to the case here. So we'll just do this and this and then this and then that's fine. And then we'll give a little bit of something going on there. Something. That's means something different, guy. You can't say that. That's bad. So I'm going to put in the rest of this panel pretty quickly. And then we're going to spend some quality time on the face because the face is going to be a kind of a cute thing. So we're going to draw all the rest of this that's in here. One of the most important things when you're drawing with Clip Studio and you have frames set up like I do is you need to remember that this is still a continuous canvas. The canvas continues to either side. So you need to remember that you've got to seal up these things if you're going to fill them in. So for example, when I get down here to her hips, I'm going to give it a little bump for the fabric there, and then I'm going to draw all the way back here, then come back up like so, right? In this instance, I'm going to really botch it, but that's okay. Because when we come back in to fill this later, we need to make sure that it's integral and sealed. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Like so. And one of the things I'm doing is my maquettes never do folded things. So you get like weird things like this. But that's not part of the actual. The design is straight down here. It just happens to be that that because of the maquette, she distorts that just a little bit. So we have to go through and fix it in that instance. Right? We're going to go through and just kind of tap in on some of this and make sure that there's just a little bit of life to the line. And then we're going to come up here and let's work on this face. And we're going to do the rest of her hair, going back here like so. Get that. Get her ear in here. We'll draw this part here. Any defects in these lines like this here are going to show up. So it'll make it look like she's got something wrong with her. So we got to make sure we clean up, especially around the face. Everybody looks at the face. Good morning, Brent. Everybody looks at the face on these things. So any defects on the face, we want to make sure we clean up as quickly as possible. Now, let's talk about in the original. She kind of has like this going for her, right? Make the eyes just a little bit like so. We're shrinking the irises down, and yeah, that's why we're getting rid of it. No Steve Buscemi eyes. All right, but we do need to make them go in the same. in the same aspect. And she's like, I've got this guy, right? So right. She's like, I sort of brought the ensign with me. Right. Let's take a look at that, see how that looks. Yeah, see, that's not bad. Just kind of like, right? I still have an echo coming through the system. I don't know. She looks a little like, maybe I should make her smile a little bit more. Like, it's kind of humorous. Let's see what that looks like. Right. A little bit in there. I don't know. Maybe I want her eyes down, her eyebrows down. Like so. Less surprised. I'm like trying to see what here. Like probably a little not dismayed, but chagrined. The feel I have for her in it is I brought this character with me as a suitcase. He's a suitcase. That's not a problem. But she is probably not impressed with the fact that he's restricted from being free on the deck of the Polaris. And I feel like that's one of the things we will have to at some point in time address. Because he's probably not ecstatic about it, would be my thought. Right, so we'll have to address it at some point. It is part of the ongoing sort of racism discussion that happens between AIs that still sort of has leftover racism hanging out in the system. All right. Yeah. Like, I brought Ensign Cayman. If you want him, got him right here. Something. Yeah. You can see how the ants are crawling around out here too. So you've got to make sure when you're using the frames function that you take out all of that. Right. So we can then take this guy and bring him up to 100%. Take you and render you out in gray. Did my mouth go on unattended and I looked up and saw Brent and then said something that included Brent in my sentences? I'm sure that has occurred. I was literally just talking to the aforementioned beloved wife. I brought Ensign Suitcase. Would you like Ensign Suitcase? Lieutenant Cayman. Right. So Lieutenant Cayman is somewhere between you and Kayan. I love this name. It's an homage to both of you, and I will remember the name forever because of that. Which is what I was just explaining to Kayan last night. Kayan last night. Just add water. A little like water pot. And you're like, doodly, doodly, doodly. Oh, it's because that's who this is. Ensign Cayman. And George has gone insane. I love these two frames. They look nice. Move on to this one. It's a big wide frame. I actually was just thinking this too. I was like, in theory, they're no longer on the Polaris's load deck. Why is he not here? Why isn't he projecting? And so I'm like, I guess he's just being polite and waiting. That's my guess, is he's being polite and hanging out and waiting until he's got a moment. Because, I'm sure that if you've been an AI all of your life, there are some social things that, like you don't pop up in the middle of conversations, you just don't. It's rude. It's rude to suddenly appear in the middle of a conversation, so you probably won't show up. He can probably hear everything. I would assume he would hear everything. And it isn't like Bennett's not right here in this panel referencing him. She is saying, oh, good, maybe he can help me out with this problem. So, Bennett's mentioning him. I don't know why he's not here. Anyway. Right, new ship, new crew, Maybe he's just waiting to, feel out the waters. He's not sure. You don't want to just you don't want to make a bad impression. You're brand new to the ship, and stuff like that. He also needs to be plugged in. Which is something we'll have to do at some point here, is plug him in. Right. Yeah, maybe that's actually it. Until the box is plugged in, he's got no holo access. So he doesn't have access to the network on board the Kittiwake. And once he's on the network, though, he should be fine. And I'm glad I have IT people on here, because that's actually probably the most logical answer, is that he doesn't have network access yet. I think it's funny that one of the things that I'm doing here is intentionally making sure Bennett's unsealed. Because if you look over at Mayrel, she's sealed up because they're still technically in a potential vacuum situation. And so she's her neck piece is locked and closed. Bennett's is not. And that's also part of Bennett's character. One of Bennett's background problems is that Bennett was spaced at one point in time. So she's not as afraid of being spaced as people who are spaced tend to be. So it's not as big of a deal. He's in audio only mode. That would be freaking funny if the box kept going, "I'll work on it, Captain. I'll work on it." Except she's not the captain. But we'll work on it, Commander. Yes, sir. The maquettes never do elbows right, so you always have to redraw the elbows. Not only that, I don't like where the maquettes went off on here. So I'm going to come around this corner a little differently. In fact, I was joking about it, but now that I think about it a little bit more, I actually do think that maybe Cayman should say yes, sir, at some point here. Because she is referring straight to him. Nope. Nope. Right. You'd have like all these. Well, okay, so you're talking about Shiro, and no matter what, the bestest thing are always Tachikoma. Tachikoma are like near and dear to my entire heart and existence as a human being. I loves Tachikoma so much, and especially in like second GIG, like that, they are so freaking adorable and so floofy. And I'm like, oh man, these are the best. As a robot person, I just, oh, it's so wonderful. Speaking of which, tomorrow is the beginning of March of Robots. Now, this isn't really important to anybody, but I know that if I don't say it over and over and over, I'm going to forget. So, I'm going to dedicate the first 15 minutes or so of every day to March of Robots so that we can have one March of Robots picture, because March of Robots is a thing. I know that one of the weeks in March, I'm going to be in San Antonio, so I'll have to figure out a way to do March of Robots. I mean, I've got all of my drawing supplies in portable mode, so it shouldn't be a problem, but I'm not worried about not doing March of Robots. I'm not worried about not having the equipment. I'm worried about not remembering, because I'm going to be all caught up with the family stuff that's going on. So you need to do more like this. Right? I feel like it's a social issue. There's going to be a week where I'm not on stream, but Kayan will still stream. And Pepper will still stream. So I'm not worried. I won't be streaming. Get out of the toilet, you pest. For Christ's sake, cat. You want to see what this does? I like that he's chewed on it. I'm just noticing that the nozzle has him chewed on. He's chewed on it. So he's like, I don't like that squirt bottle. Yeah, I don't either. Get out of the toilet, you beast. Eight track? Any particular reason? I mean, other than the obvious, it's funny to call it an 8-track. I mean, is there another reason to call it that? Because I kind of feel like 500 years from now, 8 tracks really won't be a thing that we remember. We barely remember floppy disks today. Somebody has been messing with this. Had the desired effect. Not exactly what I expected, but had a desired effect. I mean, I could see Alex calling it an 8-track. She may have lived in a time when, well, even Alex probably wouldn't know what an 8-track is anymore. And Alex would have been 400, 500 years closer to 8-tracks. Right. Now that's a plausibility. If they unironically called it an 8-track, that'd be funnier. I agree. Like they literally called it an 8-track because it tracks 8 things or whatever. Then that would be hysterical, because then she'd be like, you called it an 8-track? Yeah, because then she would probably know it by just experientialness. Like she would know it. Dang it. I hate drawing backwards. Where you're like, I can't see where I'm headed. See you in a sec, Brent. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Burb. Burb is the word for a bird. Burb, burb, burb. Burb is the word. All right, we're not going to be really good about that. There we go. So I put my monitor is now sitting at a pretty steep angle. Try to encourage me from slouching. There we go. Welcome back to the stage of history. Oh, man. Oh, she doesn't have rank on this side. She will need that. She also doesn't have a foot on this side. She will need that as well. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up from here. And kind of a complicated section down here, so this will be difficult for me to. I need to remember quite a bit when I get down to this section that these are all multicolored. Because she's wearing the uniform color, we've got the department color, and then we've got all of the emergency coloring, and it's pretty brutal. A lot going on in this particular section. Having some happy, fun time with George over here, who's determined to get into the toilet. And I'm like, really? The thing about George is that he desperately wants fresh water. Not water, fresh water. And so he knocks over cups. If it's got any liquid in it, he'll knock it over so he can get to the water that's in it. And it has nothing to do with his water situation. He's got water downstairs. And not only that, we got him one of those burbling brook water things, so it sucks up the water and then redoes it all the time. And it's like, it's just, whoa. How did we end up doing that? It's really weird because George is totally into water and it has nothing to do with the value of the water itself. It has everything to do with just he needs fresh water all the time. And it's aggravating because he's constantly, that's why you hear him go after the cup every night, is that Mariah keeps her retainer in a cup full of water and she puts it away during the day, but at night she pulls it out, dumps the water out, puts her retainer in, and then sets the cup beside the sink, at which time George can't help himself. He must stick his face in that cup, which then he pulls his face up and he's got the cup on his face and he shakes his head until it falls off. And that's what we're hearing every night. And it's okay, just frustrating. It's like, but his obsession with it is irritating when it's the toilet. The worst part is our toilet is Japanese in style now. So it has a tank sink. So when you flush the toilet, there's a little sink on top of the tank that runs water so you can wash your hands in the water that's refilling the tank. And he's just completely obsessed with that too. So you'll flush the toilet and he jumps right up and gets right into the water right in front of where you're washing your hands. And you're like, dude. Someday he's going to drink that water and it's going to be soapy and he's going to, this tastes horrible. At least he'd learn his lesson, one would think, but I keep thinking that all the time. But he also has to be in the shower with us, which is even funnier because he hates being wet, of course. So he'll sit there and boom, 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 boom at the shower door. So you'll open the shower door and he sticks his head in and goes, oh God, I'm getting wet. And then so you close the shower door and then he goes boom, boom, boom. And he puts the shower open again. Ongoing things. George is a character. I'm very grateful to have him. He is not a normal animal, and I'm okay with that. He's just a weirdo. He's a fluffy weirdo. He's my fluffy weirdo. Part of this show. You're quacked up. You know that, right? You belong on this show, definitely. Like, they'll learn. You think they'll learn, but then Tormund's going to be back there again. You know he will. He's just going to be back in it again. And it's just a matter of time. I don't even know if I'm going to do that. Makes it look like she did something coming out of her butt. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the way it has to go. He'll come over here after he's been in something wet, and I don't know what it is, right? I have no idea what wet thing he's been in. And he'll jump up here in the middle of our show, and he'll be like, I'm a good cat. And then I'll be like, why are you wet? And I'm like, because he's been somewhere, and you know he's been somewhere. You don't know where. The good news is this house is very strict about putting the toilet seat down. So at least I know he hasn't been in the toilet. Part of the reason we're having a problem right now is he's trying to lift the toilet seat lid in there. That's what he's doing. And I'm like, no. And so I've been shooting him with water, which is ironically remarkably effective. A couple of days ago, Patsy was on here, and we were talking about the good old days of CBB and the Poser Forum, which were forums that existed right around the turn of the century. And that's where Patsy and I met, was on those forums. And we were talking about how back then people would do full-fledged Poser art where they let Poser do the rendering for them. And it was like today's AI art, where people were like, that's not art. You know, you're letting a computer do the work. It's not art. And so there was an ongoing fight about that. At the time, I was doing both hand-drawn and Poser art, so I didn't mind people saying that my art done out of Poser was not art. But it's interesting that I was on the side of, you are just determined, George. Stop thinking about it. You're not getting in there. And I can hear you when you try. You're not slick. I swear that cat thinks he's slicker than he is. You're not slick. You ain't slick. But it was interesting talking about that. And in some ways, having a discussion about AI art involved in this. I had known early on when we were having this discussion that some of what I did bordered on that to some degree. And the honest to goodness truth is, I actually, that same day, I just randomly generated artwork. There is an artist that both Patsy and I know from the Star Trek world, and she does these phenomenal watercolors, and they're so pretty, and they're so beautiful, and they're so well done. And I was saying, you can't convince me that an AI could do that. And on a whim, I went out to Midjourney and tried it. I told it to do a bird of prey going, done in watercolors, Klingon bird of prey in watercolors. And what it gave me were these mechanical bird shapes that were so interesting. It was clearly a bird, a photograph of a bird that it had turned into a spaceship. And it was so cool. And I was like, that's not anybody's art. That's just weird bird spaceship things. And I was like, those are so pretty. So I actually downloaded the pictures, and I'm like, well, we'll use those as ship designs somewhere down the road. And I was like, those are so pretty. And that's the thing. It's like, I get. Oh, God. Shoot the cat again. Just interesting that, AI art does have a good place. And I think that Kayan's been trying to kind of express that for some time now. There is a place for AI art. It just can't be your primary art. Just like there's a place for my maquettes. I just can't render this comic out as a maquette in maquettes. Part of this is I draw the characters. I hand draw the characters, even though we are kind of just rerunning over the lines. I still hand draw the characters because no matter what, I imbue a certain amount of life to them with these hand drawings. Right? So no matter which way you look at it, there's a little bit more life because I hand drew it. That's always kind of cool. I can't imagine putting George in a harness. Figure that would become entertainingly unpleasant very, very quick. All right, we're on panel 1, 2, 3, 4, panel 4 of 5. Another expression change. So this is going to be always a little interesting. The maquette didn't handle the expression very well. That's okay. I think I'm going to leave this open between the two of them and not put the Chakrana behind them. It's not important to have the Chakrana in the scene. He's sort of back here as a little bit of a background just to show that there's other people on this deck. But there's going to be a huge text bubble here. And so we're going to end up losing pretty much that Chakrana anyway. Starts tomorrow. Yep. I'm going to do... we're looking forward to that. We get to start The Mandalorian tomorrow. We get another episode of Picard. That's going to be cool. This is called lens distortion that's happening up here where we get more going along the top than we need to. Oh, well, I've got both of you guys here. What's the opposite of a spacer? So, in a world where everybody goes to space, a spacer would indicate people who travel a lot in space. So, a spacer would be the equivalent of someone who is a trucker or someone who is in the service like you guys are out there. Yeah, but grounder indicates, because like what we're trying to say is the Marine on the Polaris is not a spacer. So he's myopic. His view is very small. So Maya had suggested Sissie, Syssie, to indicate he's from the system. So he only lives in systems. and sissies are the opposite of spacers. So you're either a sissy or a spacer, you know, and then you end up being sissy spacer. Anyway, she had recommended sissy, and I thought that was good. I'm not sure if there's a better one. So putting it out there for you guys, because he's not a grounder. He can't be a grounder because he's not on the ground. Everybody's in space somewhere along the line. It'd be like people who don't drive. There are people who don't drive, but it's not really that common. Wonder what happened to Sissy Spacek. I like Sissy Spacek's name. I always thought if I ever had like the ability to readopt a new name, it'd be Spacek. Guy Spacek. I mean, like, that'd be a cool name. If I ever got married to Sissy Spacek, then I would end up taking her name just so I could be Guy Spacek. I guess we could call him a ground pounder. Man. Duster. I like Duster. There's something good about Duster. We're working on that one. We're working this one. This one works. Duster. That's a good one because you can see how that would feel. Hey, don't let the Dusters get to you. Stay with the Spacers. We've got this. We've been traveling. We know. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that. That works. That works a whole lot. I like Duster. In fact, let's go on ahead and switch that over now. Although sissies are good. We'll have to rewrite this page a little bit. It was cute because it let Bennett go off on one of her weird disassociated tangents. However, on the flip side, I think it's not conveying what needs to be conveyed. And so, serve the story before you serve the character. Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like a part-time driver. I mean, like we've got to remember where we are 500 years from now. Being in space isn't special. Traveling a long distance, that's special. But being in space isn't special. Being in space is equivalent to flying on a jet airplane today. You know, most of us have flown on an airplane at least once in our life. So, you know, saying, well, yeah, it's so I think that Duster is good. I have a person. I mean, I like Duster. Grounder sounds like a baseball reference. Of course there are. There are people who've never had clean water too. I mean, that's the nature of humans. I'm not saying that there are no people who have ever flown on an airplane. I'm saying if you think about you and me and the people we hang out with, there are a handful of people who have never really left America, let's say. They just, you know, the only time they've ever really gotten on an airplane was to, you know, fly to Houston or fly to Dallas or whatever. And no one's really ever gone Hobbit. That's good. Nobody's ever really, those people haven't really gone to Paris or Tokyo. I mean, like my view of the world really changed by going to Tokyo. Once I left Tokyo, going to Paris and Germany and hanging out in Wiesbaden and all of those things, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't scary or intimidating. I knew how to behave around people who weren't American. You know what I mean? I had already learned all of the weird tricks that you need to know when you leave your home. And so that's, I think there's a very big difference between that. And that's the point that she's trying to make here, is that the people who live in system all the time believe all the crap that they hear about the Deistati, and they believe that she's trouble. Yeah, I mean, there's got to have been some of the literature had to have survived. I mean, honestly, legitimately, I'd take my, if aliens landed and said you have to leave now, I'd pick up George Dove and my satchel, which would have my surface in it, because my satchel's right there and ready to go, and it'd have drawing materials. It'd have my surface would be in there. And I don't think at the moment there's a movie on there, but sometimes I put a movie on there so that whenever I'm at a Starbucks, I can watch a movie. I've got like all of Cosmos, the original Cosmos with Dr. Sagan. I've got it all on digital copies, and sometimes I'll throw it over onto my Surface so that while I'm drawing, I can watch Cosmos, or all of Firefly. Firefly is always a fun one to have because I love the dialogue in Firefly. So I'm sure that some of our culture has survived. But it also, we should, also kind of think that though some of our culture will have survived, it's not going to be, I think definitely the books Lord of the Rings would definitely have survived. Although that could be a fun scene where Alex is reading Lord of the Rings and going, wow, I don't even remember this entire sequence, This scene where, where Frodo is, right? I mean, obviously, I would assume that my kiddo would be moving under his own power. One would think. Although it is my kiddo, he might stare at me and go, get moving. Stop staring and get moving. Yeah, you'd think, but some of you guys are ridiculous pests. You're ridiculous pests. It's what you are. You're a ridiculous pest. Not enough scritches. That's what. At least you're consistent. You're a consistent animal. Come here. Stop stopping there. Stop stopping there. It is the weirdest place to stop. There, now you can put your butt down, and I will give you scritches, and we can sit here and have a scritch moment on TV. A scritchy moment where we scritch. We be George, and we be George. Cats on the internets. And George is the weirdest little cat ever. Weird cat. Weird cat. Right.
All right. Make sure we do not forget her commander stripes. She worked hard to get these, you know. And her allegiance patch. Because she is still Unity. Part of the reason we have this problem is because the maquettes don't handle the anime-sized eyes very well. Which is fine. And I just go on ahead and just compensate. Of course, the maquettes are designed to be human-sized. Which, I mean, like I say all the time, I use the maquettes mostly for just getting the placement correct because, of course, I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm not blue lining any of this, which is a great time saver. Granted, this page still took 4 hours. And it's not even colored, although The coloring isn't going to be one of my bigger problems. I'm going to give her ponytail a little bit of movement. Indicate she's a little shocked by this sudden turn. You're determined, aren't you? You know I'm going to shoot you with water, right? You understand that, right? Stay out of the toilet, you little beast. It's worse than having a teenager. Sometimes your single-mindedness is funny. Sometimes it's just really annoying. I'm feeling like the water is not working. Stay away from it. I'm not above shooting you with these things. They're Nerf. They're not going to kill you. They're just going to really annoy you. And I'm a heck of a shot. I'm just saying.
Better.
Practical use of a Nerf gun. I'm not going to shoot him unless he gets in the toilet. Because he can't get into the toilet, the lid's down. But it's not stopping him from fussing with it and making the lid go bang, 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 which is driving me crazy. He's not going to get in. I just don't want him fussing with it anymore. I'm over it. But I do like the fact that that Nerf gun makes enough noise now to really make him think twice about what he's about to do. Better than a xenomorph. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I just threatened to shoot my cat with the M41. Just saying. Really? Like, your memory is so short. It's like you're a small cat or something, I swear. By the way, Brent is encouraging me to shoot you. I'm just saying. So if I end up shooting you, you can just blame Brent. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Now you may ask yourself, if you've got this on this particular thread and you're not going to use that, why did you do this? And it's because I will ultimately end up filling in this section. And likely what will happen is, after I've filled this in, I'm going to go back and put in a background, like a gradient or something like that. Because my gradients always are designed to convey a little further of what's going on in the story. We haven't gotten there yet, but we will. So even in a scene where I'm not keeping the background, like here, where I'm not keeping this background, I'm just going to dump it. I'm going to still have this area behind here covered for the benefit of doing something on the background. So that way I can always do something with the background and the foreground characters still stay set up and correct. Right? Now, looking at the way that this face has gone, I'm going to move that eye just a little bit in because she's now looking like she's tracked out. I don't want her to be tracked out. I want her to be tracked in. So like more like that looks good, right? And actually up 1 pixel. I can't believe I'm by pixel here, but up 1 pixel because she is looking up. But it's cuter when her eyes are crossed a little bit. And by cuter, I mean not cute in the girl sense necessarily, but more of a she's shocked and surprised sense. And it's like, wah, taken aback a little. And that's what we want. We want that kind of adorable, you know, a little taken aback on what's going on. Much better. And now you can see when we zoom out that even though it's only a couple of pixels I moved it, it looks a little bit better by far. Kind of setting that up so that she looks like she's talking back and forth. A little bit of communication going on here. So here we are on this page. That all looks good. That looks good. This looks good. This last one's her. Should be pretty easy and straightforward. We don't have a lot of line work in here on this guy. It should be a relatively easy draw. But the original has her looking much more like this, right? A little bit more like that, which is the way we're going to draw this picture. We're going to go in here and we're going to do that a little bit more. She looks, when I look at the original sketch, that's what we were looking at. She looked, right?
I have observed that I have sneezed. Nope. There's only so much these maquettes can do. And then we push beyond their capabilities with the artwork, and that's fine. They get me most of the way to the job, and that's good. And they take away having to do a lot of other things that I don't want to do. So
problem with deviating off of here means that we do have to figure out what to do about some of these some of the targeting in. We lose a little bit of the assistance here in the operation of because we're deviating off of the maquette by quite a bit. So we have to be careful because we are so used to looking at eyes that deviating off of the maquette will make her look just a little bit wonky if I'm not absolutely spot on to where these eyes go. All right. We've cleared this page. We've cleared the page. Just saying. We'll do a couple of things real quickly while we're here. Come up to here. And I'll take this and go to this guy's background layer and remove pretty much everything to the briefcase like this. And go bork. And then I'll take this and go over just a smidge of bork. And then here and go bork. I wish you wouldn't do that either. You're giving me the look like, why would you do this to me? But we're family. Why would you do this to me? Oh. I'm just going to cut everything that's not the briefcase out and then just go bork, 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 bork. Like that. Makes it easy, right? Because then all that's left here is the briefcase. We'll do that down here. And now we can merge that together as one unit, right? Because this layer and that layer now will be one layer, which we really just want. Can I just get the extracted line? No, this looks like trash. Shrug. Okay. now that just becomes that. Nope. I don't think there's anything I can do until we get to that stage. That's all right. And this shot is going to just be that's going to be the full. I like the fact that just turning on the motor is enough to deter him. That makes me laugh a lot more than it should. All right. Well, guys, we've finished page 24. We've done some poking around on page 25. We'll get page 25 rendered out tonight and probably finished tomorrow. Inked tomorrow, anyway. And then we'll move to 26. I might do 25 and 26 together as far as pre-posing, because it's all the same scene and they're just talking back and forth. And so sometimes it's easier to, people sometimes start in a position and then do other things and then end up in that position at the end of their sequence. So sometimes it's better to start them here and then render the last frame where they're here and then render all the stuff in the middle, because then it doesn't matter. The system gets knocked out or whatever and it's all good. So definitely an option on that one. So most certainly a thing we can do. I'm shocked. The kid actually did his job. Yeah, well, that's a thing. All right. Other than that, though, I think we are done for the day with this, which is cool. We'll do this one tonight, and we'll just keep rolling. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I'm going to head on out and end a little early because I can, because we're good. We've done an entire page. This page is rolled out. It looks pretty. We're solid. We'll hit this page up next, and we will get it done. And then we will be OOH. So, all right, guys. That's my show for the day. I will see you guys all later. And remember, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye.